Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss an update.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Sharing the Scoop, and today I have with me is very interesting guest Mallika Tandon. So hi Mallika, how are you?
Absolutely fine. So thank you so much for hosting me on Teams. It's an honor.
It's all our pleasure actually to have you on board. So Mallika, can you please introduce yourself for our audience?
Yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Mallika Tandon. I'm a commerce graduate. I graduated in 2016, and post that I worked in an education sector. I also worked as a freelance content writer, and I had my own share of struggles and problems before I landed into SIBM Pune in 2019. And I took marketing as my specialization because it made a logical sense to do that, as I had a work ex as a market representative. And it's been 1 year and a very interesting journey so far. And I think, yes, there's been a lot of experience and a lot of learnings in the college. So yeah, that's how it went.
Very interesting and very hectic, I must definitely.
Absolutely, it's hectic. Yes, MBA is supposed to be hectic.
2 years full-time MBA from a great college is always hectic. That's what I have heard. I'm knowing now. Okay. So, Mallika, basically, wanted to ask a little bit more on how did you manage to prepare for the other MBA entrances like CAT and MAT? I mean, which all entrances that you had written, and landing into SIBM, is there anything different that you did for SNAP?
So I'll tell you my story. So basically, I started preparing for my GMAT. So that's how the story started. And because I'm only 25 years old, so most of the colleges abroad, they want a significant amount of work experience. I scored 710 in GMAT, converted some of the colleges, Hong Kong University and a few more. But then things didn't really materialize, so I took CAT also. So that was about not much of the preparation, I would say. And along with that, like on the last days, I signed up for SNAP as well. So I would say the significant difference in my preparation was that GMAT is very verbal and quant oriented, while there was no section known as LRDI. So it was a completely new experience for me preparing for LRDI, because CAT is much more, I would say, LRDI and quant centric. So definitely a shift in approach in my preparation. As far as SNAP is concerned, I think one distinguishing factor there was that we had GK also. So it didn't happen last year, but in 2018, when I appeared for the exam, we had GK as well. So I had been an avid reader, so I didn't struggle much over there. But I converted a few colleges through CAT and through SNAP as well, but I thought that SIBM is probably the best bet and the best place where I can be. And in the back of mind, I did have an inclination and inkling towards marketing, although I was confused between marketing and finance. So I knew that I'll be in good hands once I land into SIBM. Unfortunately, I did.
Great. Was there any other symbiosis calls that you had? And if I ask you to differentiate between the respective symbiosis calls interview process, or if not symbiosis, then when you had appeared for your CAT and the other colleges, as you mentioned that you had converted as well. If you want to differentiate between those interview experiences and one particular at SIBM Pune, and is there anything different or some very out of the box that they asked you?
Sir, my interview journey started basically because I had a great GMAT score. So it started with Great Lakes. And I enrolled for their PGP program for the WorkX people. So it was probably the toughest interview I had so far. It went on for about 1.5 hours. It was supposed to be only for 20 minutes, and it was the most grueling experience for me. And then I converted newer IIMs, and I also converted because I had got a significant experience through my GLIM interview. So I was kind of prepared for the worst. So it was actually a blessing in disguise for me. And I then appeared for my newer IIMs for IMT Ghaziabad and a few more. I didn't take NMAT, to be honest, because I was already confused as to which exams after GMAT I would take. So one different thing about SIBM interview was that we also had an extempore, which extensively tested our verbal communication skills. I mean, the interview had to start, they just gave us a topic, gave us about a minute to think on it. and then we had to go inside the room and just start blurting out whatever we wanted to say. So it was always about making choices. That particular question was always about making choices. And post that, they started asking us about some generic questions about who are you, and then what is your specialization, why MBA, etc. So basically, it was on us to drive the entire interview. Another important thing is that in all the Symbi colleges, you don't have a GD, you have a GE, group exercise, especially in SIBM. You get tasks, and along with that, you have a VAT also, which can be a deciding factor. So that's what makes it different. Different. In fact, this year itself, they changed the pattern of VAT as well. So they added GK into VAT. So that was even trickier, and most of the aspirants, they really went in for a toss because GK was totally unexpected in VAT. So that's how they keep on experimenting. So this is something I think that distinguishes the GE pivot process of SIBM as well as SCM One more distinguishing factor was the kind of the proactiveness of the ART aspirant relations team, and all the students who were conducting all these sessions. They really looked like professionals. I had to ask them, for how long have you been doing it? So they said that we've been trained and mentored for it. So that was really impressive, and that was very different from what I had experienced in other colleges.
Amazing, amazing. And in fact, from what I have heard and known as well, that Symbiosis is in a way keeps on doing, these things. They keep on experimenting with their second stage preparation. Every year they have something new, and every year we all, like, the candidates are,
Right.
as abhi sab pucha, and all of that. Anyway, great. Another part that I would want to ask you actually is that I have known that you had a great verbal percentile in CAT, and I can see the reason behind it. You prepared for GMAT, got 710, converted a lot of colleges there as well. So what was that journey? Were you always that good, or what happened? How did you prepare for verbal, and what are your tips actually if somebody wants to do very verbal?
Yes. So I think GMAT I've had my own share of struggles, to be honest. For GMAT, first of all, there's no such set coaching which you can get for GMAT, and plus the material that you get, it's very expensive. You have to really haggle after all the international sources. It gets a little expensive, and then there's not much direction that you get. So my first GMAT attempt was a totally tanked attempt. I don't even want to disclose the score. It was so pathetic and embarrassing. But then when I appeared for the second attempt, yes. So then I scored about a 660, and then third attempt I was able to crack, and then I scored about 710. So it's been a journey in itself, and it kind of prepared me also. And one I think distinguishing factor that really helped me was reading. I used to read a lot, like newspaper, especially newspaper. So that was one thing. I'm sorry, what was the next question you asked?
No, so I was asking that, okay, so you read a lot, that definitely helped you a lot. In fact, you said
Yes.
you were reading newspapers. The second part was, so what are your tricks and tips that you want to give for somebody who is, who's want to do well in verbal section, be it
Yes.
any exam?
Right. So, sir, one thing I would want to say is that when we talk about the other sections, let's say LRDI and Quant, they are very process oriented. You have a formula in mind, and then it keeps on hovering in your mind. And when the question comes up, you apply the formula, you get your answer, and bingo, you get your marks, right? There is no such process in place for verbal. Let's say I'm a paper setter, I throw an RC passage at you. You look at the passage, and most of the times you end up feeling frustrated, or you just want to get over with it. So there is no such process in place, and I think that's the biggest flaw in attempting the verbal questions, because it can be as mathematical and as analytical, and this even really have my word for it. So it also requires a lot of groundwork, just the way you solve your math problems and you brush up your quantitative skills, right? So this is exactly what you have to do, and it all starts with reading. So this is my honest request to every aspirant, no matter what exam you're taking, please read. And when we say read, you also need to take care of what sources you want to go to. If you ask me to read a random book, it's not going to add to my verbal ability skills, because you never know what kind of topic is going to come up in your exam. So I started reading the Hindu newspaper. That's one newspaper I used to follow religiously. initially it was difficult because it has got a very convoluted language, but it was just a matter of 20 days when I got used to it, and my score literally jumped in 6 months and by 40 to 50%, and I can really vouch for it. And apart from that, understand when in an exam like CAT, it's skewed towards RC passages. Like you have 24 to 25 questions of RC only. So reading, obviously it helps, but then you also need to have some strategies in place. So the RC passages, they are divided primarily into two parts. That is the technical or the specific questions. There's detail-oriented questions. You can always go back to the passage. Now, the trickier part is the abstract questions, which revolve around the primary purpose or the title or the theme of the passage. So for that, what tricks I followed was that when I started reading, I used to read the first paragraph as well as the last paragraph very carefully, because almost 90 to 95% of the times you will get your primary purpose from the first paragraph and the last paragraph itself, especially the first and the last lines. So that's a very tried and tested technique that I used in my verbal exam, and it really went a long way. And as luck would have it, in most of the passages, you will get your primary purpose as to what is the author's intent of writing the passage. What is the author's tone? These two are the things that need to be taken care of. Is the author positive, negative, or neutral about a particular subject that he's talking about? And you get the cues from the first and the last passage. And while you hover through the passage, there are some don'ts also that you need to follow. Unlike all the coaching institutes that would ask you to read fast, I really don't recommend it, because you've got a very subjective reading pace. Not everybody can read so fast. Speed is just a byproduct of the practice that you do for verbal. So you just have to start reading and make sure that you do not go back to the sentence that you've read previously. You just have to keep on moving forward. And you may have a pen, pencil in hand, you may not have it. It just doesn't really matter, because I didn't have a single pen or paper in my hand while I was solving verbal passages. It's really not required. So a mental map is what you need to make. And while you're hovering through the passage and while you're moving ahead, you need to understand the course of the passage. Be an active reader. Passive reading doesn't really help. So when you're looking for primary purpose, when you're looking for author's tone, make sure you're able to attribute some adjectives to the author's tone. Since you yourself, you yourself would be mentoring students on verbal, you must be telling them that there are some adjectives as to whether the author is eulogizing a particular subject. Is he being indifferent, or is he satirical? Is he critical? Is he negative? So these are some of the words that need to be attributed, and they are very important. So let's say if you have about 6 questions, about 3 to 4 of them will deal with the abstract passages. And while you move through the passage paragraphs, try to make a mental map of what exactly the passage is all about. Let's say it starts with a basic introduction, which also has a primary purpose, of course. Then it moves to introduction. This is when the particular person was born, and this is what he did. So that you can refer back to the passage. If you really want, you can also write down as to what paragraph 1 is talking about, what paragraph 2 is talking about. So that really helps. But make sure that you don't start making the notes of them, because if you do it, it's not going to work in a real test environment. A lot of coaching institutes do recommend making notes and continuously writing, but it really doesn't help in a real test environment. So if you're doing all this, and if you're able to develop a process while solving RC passages, I think it can go a really long way in improving your speed as well. Like I said, speed is a byproduct of the practice you do in verbal. And as far as the other part of it is concerned, sir, I'll tell you one technique for para jumbles. This is what I feel. This is purely subjective to what I feel. Yeah. So typical test maker, I would say, the paper setter, how he's giving you the para jumbles is that he is playing around with a lot of newspapers, let's say about 100 to 200 newspapers. He's flinging through the newspapers, and then he randomly chooses a newspaper, takes the Hindu newspaper, takes out the editorial, and then he picks up an editorial, and then he puts it in the paper. That's how the para jumbles are usually decided that appear in the exam. He will take up line 1, and then he would give you line 23, line 10, line 14. Now, lines won't be in a consecutive order, which is why the para jumbles are so difficult, but they do tell you a story. So if you're able to weave a story as to what the author is trying to say, if you're able to take care of the mandatory pairs, the articles, and you're able to put some basic grammar, basic logic into or cohesion into jotting down what the paragraph is saying, I think you're good to go with parajumbles as well. So similar is the case with the last sentence paragraphs, etc. I think it's all revolving around one thing, that you have to read newspapers. So that's one really big request to all the aspirants who really want to do great in verbal.
Of course, and it makes a lot of sense, because we keep on telling the same thing, but when it comes from somebody who has actually done it and who have been on the other side of it, it probably will definitely add more value for them, that
I
bola
hope
hai
it does.
अब तो करना ही पड़ेगा in a way.
Yes.
Okay. So right now you are done with your internship and started with your second year of college, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So where did you intern and what was that experience was like?
So okay, fine. It really shows on my LinkedIn profile, so it doesn't really matter. So I worked with Pidilite Industries. I worked in the consumer products division, art stationery fabric. So if you see the typical school Fevicol, that's the division I worked for, because Fevicol is an iconic brand, and this is what Pidilite is really associated with. So the internship was a sales channel specific internship, because we were not supposed to go outside. And since it had to be a sales internship, but then because of the COVID scenario, the unprecedented times, we really couldn't step out. So it was more based on the sales channel strategy. So this time, what really changed was that we had two projects, similar deadline, 3 weeks each for every project. I think it was very, I would say, emotionally and physically tiring. And what it really required was a lot of resilience, consistency. And one thing that really helped me was a very strict schedule. And of course, that's one more request I would want to make to all the aspirants. Please, build a schedule for yourself and try to stick to it. So one thing that also helped me was that I'm an early riser. I really cannot wake up till late at night. I have to wake up at 5 a.m. Like anyhow, I have to do that. So that's how I plan my day. So about 10 to 12 hours was the working time required for this internship. We don't know what is the next process, but it has been a really big learning experience for me. In fact, the learning curve has been really steep, and I just hope something good really comes out of it.
Of course, it's a great company. So yeah, no doubt about that. Super. Any other tips, Malika, about SIBM? How to survive at SIBM? What not to do at SIBM?
Yes. So, okay. SIBM is really, it's a great college. I mean, the moment you enter the college, it's a scenic beauty in itself. I mean, you really would want to be there, because you'll feel as if you're a part of a hill station. It's like a Scotland, I would say. Scotland, because I like that place. So, yeah. So that's one thing. That's one reason why you want to be in SIBM. Also, apart from, I think from a student perspective, three things I would want to talk about SIBM is, first thing is that the student culture is amazing. Right from the time you enter the college till the time you graduate, and everything that happens in between, everything is administered and handled by the student councils, be it admissions, be it placements, or be it cultural events, everything. So this not only benefits the college, it is also beneficial for us, because it instills some very important management lessons, such as decision making, problem solving, conflict management, etc. The second part is that apart from all the pedagogy, if you see, there are a lot of sessions conducted as a part of the engagement process by a lot of student councils, in which a lot of industry stalwarts are invited. There is a whole lot of industry professionals that you'll see on different social handles if you just check the SIBM page. So I think it's always a delight to listen to them. They add to our perspectives. I mean, every talk and every leadership discussion or a panel discussion is so meaningful. It really teaches you a unique lesson, and it gives you a unique perspective about how you should go about solving problems. These days, a lot of sessions are really skewed towards how to deal with the COVID scenario and what is going to happen next. The third thing I would want to talk about is the kind of the lot that we have in SIBM. So there, I mean, in the recent 2 or 3 years, it was already reported in D2C, as far as I know, that SIBM Pune emerged as the only college that won the maximum number of B school competitions, beating all the IIMs. And if you check the alumni profile on LinkedIn, you'll see that there are a lot of alumni who have christened that batch of top 100 most competitive leaders. So this is a batch that is given by the D2C to a lot of business leaders who've been a part of a lot of these school competitions. So there's a lot of enriching peer learning involved in the entire process. It's a delight to actually talk to those people. I mean, that's the fraternity you develop. So this is, yeah. So these are three things that really distinguish SIBM Pune from the other colleges.
These are the things that you always want in a good B school, and you want to be the part of such community, you know, no matter how hectic and how tiring it gets.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it also encourages you to be, I mean, in some sense, so I'm not comparing between myself and others, but then it also develops a sense of pushing yourself because you want to be a part of that league, you want to be a part of that fraternity. So you
Correct,
push your
correct.
limits, and all the assignments and all those hours, they just do not matter to you at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Superb, superb. So thank you so much, Malik, for your time
Thank you so
and
much.
your amazing insights, especially about the verbal thing. That is something
Thank
that
you.
I was able to learn something genuinely out of that, and I will have a different perspective now while looking at verbal passages, or you know, even reading something. I'll be trying to look out for those clues. Which line this must be, whether it is 23rd line or 5th line. Or something of that sort. Anyway, all the best for your future
Thank you so
endeavors,
much.
and thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, sir.